Good morning to those of you watching on from home, and good morning to those of you here in the paddock with us this weekend for the opening round of the Skusa Winter Series. We're live from a very cold and windy Houston, Texas, and Speedsportz Racing Park. Joined by David Land. David, a day yesterday was had for sure. And again, we saw some great racing, some first-time national race winners, but being boots on the ground for what I believe is your second winter series for the opening weekend, what were your thoughts after it was all said and done yesterday?
Well, Texas is a lot colder in January than I kind of expected. You know, the last winter series I did was in Miami at Homestead, and that was a little bit warmer than this. Of course, it was a lot more wet. Although, you know, when we arrived here at Texas, it was wet. It was rainy. I think it kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into the competitors because ultimately what that rain did was brought in this cold front. You could probably see my breath. I just had the heat gun on the racetrack, and the track temp right now is 46 degrees.
That's cold.
Yesterday it was 80, and we were complaining about it. So I think today's going to be a super interesting day where the competitors, I mean, when was the last time we even ran this cold? I don't even remember Superdats being this cold.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I think on the national circuit, it's been, you have to go back probably a long time, but for me, you know, we were here last year for the Texas Sprint Racing Series, and it rained the entire weekend. It was cold, freezing cold. Drivers, you know, it was about the same kind of temperatures. But I like to joke around, right? I'm from the area. I'm from the Houston, Texas area, and we got all of Houston in about 3 days. In a 3-day span, we were hot, humid, sweaty, and rainy all in one day, where drivers were sweating off the racetrack. And again, that was on the Friday whenever we arrived, myself and yourself but today or yesterday and today it's been cold. It's been cold. We were down in the 30s this morning. We're up into the 40s right now, which you don't see us wear gloves and beanies this early in the year, right? Because we're so used to being in Florida. But now that we are down here, it's been an experience for sure, and it's going to be an experience for these drivers as well, right? A very tricky racetrack this morning as the KA seniors are now rolling out onto the track, but this is going to be a little bit different for them, right? This is probably the coldest conditions that we're getting throughout the weekend, and again, you got to think it's going to be that little bit colder today as well. And again, the sun is going to be out more than it was yesterday, but I don't think that's going to be enough to heat up the track surface today, Dave. And you spent a lot of time talking to drivers, talking about the different conditions. What did you understand from after speaking to guys like Jay Irwin, who was racing into the night with a very shaded backstretch?
Yeah, well, it seems like it's a bit of a crapshoot right now. It seems like some guys will make the right decision, some guys will make the wrong decision. I'm kind of curious how much this warm-up's going to help or maybe hurt, because I think some guys maybe overthought it yesterday. I think Gus Lawrence was one of the guys we saw kind of fall through the field. And, you know, Ryan Norberg, I thought, had a really interesting point when he was in the commentary booth, that it's not just the temperature here at Speedsportz, it's actually the surface. It's a very abrasive surface here. In fact, I noticed it. You know, we don't see in this modern era of karting a lot of rubber being laid down on the racetrack, but I actually noticed as yesterday wore on, there was quite a groove on some of the corners, and that's something we don't really see a lot. You know, one of the things that I've kind of learned in covering karting is that in recent years, these newer tires, they just don't lay rubber down like, you know, they used to. And so when I see a rubber line being laid down, that's notable to me, and I go, oh my gosh, okay, then we're really chewing the tires up. So from that perspective, you know, as we run through the day, and you would typically think, right, like colder temperatures, you know, just logically would lead to better tire wear. But kind of as we see in Formula One, we heard a lot of drivers talking about graining yesterday. Sometimes when the tires can't get up the temperature, they start wearing too. You know, you want to try to keep them in that optimal temperature. So one of the things that's going to be really interesting that I saw yesterday was in qualifying, when, you know, you saw drivers really pushing on the outlaps to try to get that fifth lap, right, that extra lap in qualifying. Because we saw guys would take huge swings, you know, and you know, obviously Blake Nash ultimately was thrown out yesterday, but he got the pole position on that final lap in X30 Pro. So that's kind of what I'm curious about today, is with even lower temperatures, managing the tires is going to be that much more difficult. Getting those pressures right, especially, going to be optimum.
And that's where I think we saw maybe Gus Lawrence go that little bit too low on tire pressures, where, you know, it came in but way too late, and even then I don't think he was fully fired off. If we were at a normal Pro Tour race and they had their full extra 20%, then it would have been, you know, it would have been optimal for Gus. Even then, I think a little bit too late. But that's another thing. I think if anything today, you could probably put a little bit more pressure into those tires and try and heat them up that little bit more. But like you mentioned, right, qualifying is going to be a way different look than what we saw yesterday. This track, for the most part, is dry because it rained 2 nights ago. You know, we were still kind of seeing a little bit of that on the racetrack, a little bit of standing water throughout some of the corners. But yeah, great point, right? All great points of what we're expecting to see. And you mentioned the tires as well, right? The new iteration of the SKH2, which was last year, the first year that we used them, was very different for a lot of drivers. So, yeah, this track, like you said, is very abrasive. I know there's a lot of drift events that go on here, so you have drift cars throughout the week, and as well some weekends when there isn't a club race here that do go to the racetrack. So naturally, when you have a full-size car on a kart track, it will tear it up a little bit, and as well some of the runoffs that you see, dirt fillings that the AR Academy and as well Speedsportz has put down to kind of help those little bit of runoffs so it's not such a dip off the racetrack. But all great points, and I think, you know, we're only going to find out later and after the warm-ups and as well after the qualifying sessions of what drivers are experiencing exactly out there. You know, we're not going to know. Must be said, though, a great, I would say, job by the Skusa officials. We were nice and clean yesterday, no red flags, and we expect to see that as well today. Great racing all around. You talk about the mini Swifts, we talk about the micro Swifts that had a great race, and as well the KA seniors. That was, again, you saw great racing all around from all categories, and I think we're expecting to see just that. This track for me, and I will be a little biased because, again, I grew up racing here, but this track races really, really well. And I think even then, you come into a race and there's about 10 guys that have an opportunity to win here. And we saw that yesterday, right? Just a mix of the field and KA Senior and as well in the mini Swift classes, so on and so forth. So I'm excited to see the racing here for day 2.
Caleb's been glazing Texas more than my Whataburger fries were glazed last night. I mean, it's crazy. But, you know, something you brought up was the Pro Tour, right? Like, and that was something, a point that Xander made last night when we were watching the Pro Shifter finale. You get 5 extra laps in a Pro Tour race versus here. And I wonder, because we've made so many comparisons about preseason football, right? This is the preseason. This is when you kind of get your feelings, get your bearings. What do I have for 2026? But since our drivers are so experienced with 25-lap races, doing a 20-lap race here where you don't have to worry about tire management quite so much, how much of a difference does that make when you kind of have a curveball thrown at you?
It's definitely a lot of factors, and we're going to see it all play out as well later on. I know the checkered flag just flew for KA Senior. Dave, I think it's time for us to talk to some drivers. We're up here kind of playing armchair quarterback, right? You mentioned football. Why don't we go talk to some of those quarterbacks and wide receivers, if you will, now that we are in playoffs, right? But yeah, nonetheless, we're going to talk to some drivers. We're going to head down, and that'll be right after this quick commercial break.
Go Bears.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Garrett, let's go race.
Come on, man.
Yeah. All right, we're down here with. Tell me how it's been going so far.
It's not been the best. I've had some mistakes, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm getting better.
So, I mean, we've been talking about the track conditions all day. I mean, I just measured the track temp, 46 degrees. Have you ever even run anything this cold before?
Yes, I have.
So what is that an advantage? I mean, when was the last time you ran in something this cold?
Probably about 2 months ago.
Where was it?
It was in Lonato in Italy. It was 35 pouring rain. It was miserable, but I've driven to this before.
So using that Italian experience, because I'm curious about this, because 35 degrees is cold as it is, but you were getting rained on too. So this is like a breezy summer's day then.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, so kind of evaluate your day yesterday. I know you mentioned you had a couple of mistakes. What are those mistakes that you can correct today?
I got a pushback in qualifying. I qualified 5th or 4th, but then the pushback, we couldn't protest because my camera failed. I went to 27th, got spun out on the start, then started the final 21st, made up 13 spots, and I was as fast as leaders. It's just I fell back. It was too far away to catch with them.
So how do you maximize qualifying here in a few minutes? Because I know that's probably going to be key to the rest of the day.
Not get a pushback and put a lap down.
It's just that simple, isn't it? And man, it's you know what? I'm not going to complain about the temperature anymore. 35 degrees and rainy, count me out. Caleb Vieska, I think you got someone down on the grid.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I'm standing by here with Sean Owens. Sean, you are, well, first of all, happy birthday. I should start. And you're working with Shep Sullivan here this weekend. You have a lot of experience with drivers and teams here in the Texas area. We'll talk about this new project for you, and as well as helping develop a young driver for what's really his second national race here at Skusa.
Yeah, it's been great. You know, Shep, we just got through our rookie season. This is going to be our first national scene race, and he's doing great, man. You know, this off season we've done a lot of speed training. We got a little bit more power on the kart, and you know, banging laps together, doing a lot of lead follow. And the kid's getting good, man. You know, we're starting to see a lot more moments of brilliance. You know, they were a lot more scattered out a little bit earlier mid last season, and now they're starting to show session by session. So things are going really well for Shep.
And obviously, it's a different environment, right? Nerves are a little bit higher than probably what it's used to at the regional scene with a lot more drivers on the racetrack. How do you keep a driver, especially a young driver, calm in those high-pressure situations?
We just try to take the stress off as much as possible. You know, we've got a lot of people talking to him. They're all buddies when they get off the track. So they kind of go out, decompress a little bit, and we get serious, look at data for a little while. But we just try to keep it light. You know, when we're talking about 8-year-olds, you know, the emotions are a roller coaster. So, you know, one session we could be completely down in the dumps, and next session's top of the mountain. So he's been doing a lot better at controlling his emotions and kind of keeping a level head throughout the whole weekend. So it's been going good on the psyche front.
What type of goals have you set for your driver, obviously, with this only his second start?
We set small goals. You know, yesterday our goal was finish in the top 10 in our first national race. He did it. We got a P7. And as a little prize, we popped a little bottle of cider, you know, just kind of give them a little carrot as we're moving up. Kind of give them a little bit of something to look forward to and something to reach for, really.
There you go. Well, thank you, Sean, and wish your driver the best of luck here.
Thanks a lot, Caleb. Thank you.
Yeah, there you guys have it from Sean. Dave, you got anybody down there with you?
Got to get Finn Bailiff here. He's just putting his go-kart on the stand. And Finn, tell me about, I guess we'll start with yesterday. Just kind of walk me through what happened with you.
Yeah, so we were pretty good. We were probably top 10, and then the throttle cable snapped right before the pit lane, so I just pulled it in and had no luck there. And then an X30 on the start, we kind of just got into a little bit of a wreck, broke the tie rod, and didn't finish that one either.
So you're very happy that this is a total reset button today. We've been talking so much about the conditions. It is so cold right now. You're in short sleeves though, so you're chilling. Tell me about racing in these kind of conditions, and is this about as cold as you've experienced before, or have you run in this kind of stuff before?
Yeah, I'm from Ohio, so I've definitely run in this stuff. It's definitely just slick. You got to be more careful on the track and when you're passing and stuff, because the offline is just slippery. as it gets. But yeah, it's quite a bit different.
Yeah, well, the Ohio certainly works. I mean, well, you can just go out whenever you want, right? I mean, that makes it very easy. Okay, be honest. Have you ever run in the snow?
I have, but not at home. It was at Indiana. We were doing a club race or something, and it started snowing while we were on track, and it was awful.
What's wrong with Indiana? Who would ever be from that state? I don't know what's that all about. Okay, so let's get serious one more time. Obviously, you want to improve on yesterday. You probably couldn't get worse than what happened yesterday, right? Between the two classes, what would you say is your best chance at success?
I think right now, probably X30. We just have probably just a little bit more power in that. We qualified a little better. We made the fast group in that one because we didn't have slicks on in the rain, so we have a little bit more of a shot there.
All right, that's Finn Bailiff. He knows about this weather. He's short-sleeved. He's from Ohio, and he's crapping on guys from Indiana. That's typical of somebody from Ohio. Back to you guys. Talk. Okay. Yep. We're gonna be hot. Oh, we're hot. It's out. Yesterday turned out to not be such a great day. Just kind of talk about your mentality after getting DQ'd yesterday.
No change. Go out and win today.
There you go. Well, and I think you've got a pretty good shot. I mean, we talked so much about the track conditions and the cool weather. That really didn't seem to affect you as much as you were kind of worried about. So today, with it being colder, do you change any of the approach?
Nope. Same thing. Go out and win.
How do you beat Hodgson? Because he looked really strong yesterday.
This time I'll try to go for the move a little bit earlier. Try not to be as patient. That's it.
I guess since I asked Bailiff, have you ever run the snow?
No. It doesn't snow in California. I don't know if it ever has.
It does on the mountains. We got to put a track up there, but appreciate that, Blake Nash. I'm sure we'll be talking later today.
Thank you.
Back up to you guys.
I'm standing by here with one of our rookies this weekend in the Pro X30 class. Eric, tell me about your first really run at the Pro X30 Senior Division. I know yesterday was an up and down day, but tell me what you learned from your first day.
I learned a lot. It was a completely different experience to anything I've ever experienced. All these guys are actually pros compared to the juniors that I've been working with that are still developing. So it was really cool to be able to be out there and learn behind them and try and run them down. It was awesome.
So now that you have a day of experience kind of under your, under your belt, under your seat, if you will, what do you take from yesterday and take it in a day?
Consistency is key. That's what I took. I was super fast in qualifying, but over the course of a race, I just made some little mistakes here and there that really compounded. So today we just got to be more consistent, make less mistakes, and I think we'll be in the running for a good result.
So tell me, what's the dream scenario for you? What's a dream result for you on your first weekend as a pro driver?
Well, the dream result is obviously a win. I think the pace is there for the win. I just got to go put it together.
Sounds good. I wish you the best of luck, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Myself and David are back together. We got a guest with us, Jesus. First of all, tell us about yesterday. Last time we were here, last year, well, you've been here a good number of times throughout the years, but last year when we were here in Pro X30 competition was at the Skusa Pro Tour. Great result for you getting yourself on the podium. Yesterday was a little bit of a struggle. Tell me what you guys were kind of experiencing.
Yeah, we're definitely lacking a little bit overall. Like, I feel like engine-wise and kart-wise, but we're putting our heads together and working at it as best we can. And I feel pretty confident with today. I'm pretty excited to go and give it another shot. We're trying our best and we're doing all we can, and we're going to see what we can do today.
Dave, I know you've been curious about the colder conditions today. I'll let you go ahead here and ask Jesus.
Yeah, have you raced in the snow before?
No, but I'm freezing.
You guys are from California as well, Dave. So.
Well, it snows. I'm telling you, we just got to build a track on the mountain.
Would you
like
take part in something like that, Jesus? Would you take part?
Yeah. Why not?
You race anything, right? Anything with wheels and an engine?
Yeah, of course.
Today, so my question, right? Colder conditions. I know you've raced here in pretty cold conditions, but what about this is different? How do you prepare for something like this? And qualifying as well, right? With only 4 to 5 laps.
You just got to go out right out the gate and put in as much temperature as you can in these tires, because it takes quite a bit to go. Like when you first go out, you're just hydroplaning, and yeah, you just have to build as much temp in the tires because you only get 4 laps, which is not that much. And if you go out in the front, there's a chance you get an extra lap compared to the guys in the back in qualifying, so you got to make sure you get that extra lap too, because that's going to be the one that counts.
It's interesting that you described it as hydroplaning. How close is racing in extreme cold conditions to racing in the rain?
It's quite. Like when you first go out of the gate, it almost feels like it's raining, of course. But then, like once you get through the first lap, then the grip starts coming to you. The temp in the tire starts building up, and then you just go on from there.
Very interesting. I've never heard racing in the cold described as almost like a hydroplane. That's just such an interesting way of putting it.
We'll let you get ready as well, Jesus. I know you got to go on grid, so Jesus is going to leave us, and we'll work our way into the grid as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
Grace, you want to follow us along? Got one driver right here. Aiden, talk to you for a little bit. You got yourself. You keep walking. We're gonna work with you here. I know yesterday was a good day, right? Getting yourself on the podium after penalties. But tell me about kind of what was going through your head yesterday and how it went for you.
Yeah, it was a good day. We were just managing. The whole weekend we've had pace in the dry. Yesterday was quite tricky. All the practice days it's been 28 Celsius or like 80, high 80s, and yesterday was like 60 degrees. So it was hard getting used to the go-kart. Like we had to change a lot yesterday compared to the past practices, so I think it'll be better today.
Sounds good. Well, we'll let you get ready. I know you guys are just about to get going, so thank you, Aiden. We'll see Aiden. He was on the podium yesterday after a penalty to Blake Nash and Davin Roberts, so we'll work our way down as well. There's a couple of more drivers here. Trying to find Gus Lawrence. Dave's got him.
Down here with Gus Lawrence, the Super Nats champion, and yesterday I don't think it went quite as well as it did in Las Vegas, but what do you have to do to maximize these cool conditions?
Oh, it's all about just getting the tyres warm and having the kart to grip in the right place. Like yesterday in the final for me, I made the wrong call and it showed I was slow. I just went backwards, so I need to do the opposite today and try and have a better result.
I've been asking everybody this, and I imagine that you probably have. What's your experience of racing in snowy conditions?
We have arrived at a track before, swept the snow off and gone round, and like -1 in the rain. Obviously it has the grit on the track, so it's slippery. There's not much ice, but no, it's not that enjoyable. I wouldn't recommend it.
That's something Ryan Norberg actually brought up yesterday that I'm kind of curious. I haven't asked a whole lot of people about this. Is the track surface apparently very abrasive? How do you manage that, especially with these cool conditions?
Yeah, like the drop off from the new tyre run to the old tyres is quite a lot. So you have to manage your tyres to a degree, and the chassis has to grip and work correctly to still be fast when the tyres get old. So we'll see how we go today, and that's something which I didn't do well yesterday. So we'll have to try and work around that and improve.
When we think back to November and Super Nats, it's been a couple of months. Has it sunk in yet?
No, it was a great way to end the year, and something I've always wanted to do, to race in Vegas, let alone didn't think I'd win, especially where I started. So that was an amazing way to end the year.
There you go, Gus Lawrence. We'll let him get suited and booted in the go-kart, and Caleb Vieska, he's good. So we'll send it to some track action. We'll find some other things to talk about. All right, we're down here with Paulie Massimino. Paulie, I guess we'll start with your weekend. Just kind of describe it thus far.
Pretty up and down.
There you go. That's easy. Let's talk about the morning session. Obviously, super cold conditions. How are you handling it so far?
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty slow, so didn't really have any grip out there. Seems like that's what we've been struggling on this weekend. Super hard because one set of tires you put on, you feel like you have a lot of grip, and then you put on another set of tires, you feel like you have no grip. So I'm not too sure.
What do you have to do? So when you have such a variable like that you really can't predict, I mean, is it, like, I can't imagine that does a whole lot for your confidence.
No, I mean, we don't really know which way to go with setup. I mean, every time you go out, it's different. So hopefully our race tires are good. I know in practice we've been doing just fine, and then we put on a new set of tires and we slow down half a second. So doesn't make sense, but I guess we got to try and work around it.
A lot to figure out and understand for Paulie Massimino. I understand that Caleb Viesca has another person we can talk to.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I'm sitting by here with Diego Ramos. Diego, I think the qualifying was definitely one to forget yesterday, right? You just couldn't get yourself a clean air or be able to set in a good lap. Just tell me about the day yesterday, because it seemed like you were playing catch-up from there on.
Yeah, for sure the quality wasn't perfect, but I mean, you know, it's always tough to blame the tires, but we were really quick in practice. Didn't change nothing in the car. It was amazing. The engine felt good. Everything felt alright. And then we put a new set for the race. and then we lost 5 tenths. That means it's tough, you know. Like you practice, you finish the year really good in Supernats. We won in Newcastle, and then we arrive here, and just need to be lucky for the race.
And again, I remind you of your success here last year because you won in single speed over in KA. You know, you were the driver of the year at the end of 2025, and you come into this year, and it just seems like it hasn't been there in the main event. You weren't able to make moves with such ease. What else do you need this weekend to kind of try and get yourself up to the front?
I mean, it's hard because if you don't get a good set of tires, you can change whatever you want in the car, and it's gonna still be the same. But yeah, we're still working. We start trying a lot of stuff. Now we see with the new set for quali if it's gonna be better or not. If not, we just need to work and try our best.
Sounds good. Thank you, Diego.
Thank you.
Well, I'm back here at Jake Drew now. We spoke to Buddy earlier on today, and again, for those of you coaching this weekend, Jake, you know, we saw you racing here last year, but tell me about your plans for the 2026 year. I know you're not with us here for the winter, but I know we're expecting to see you back after, I believe you were in the Circle of Champions at the end of last year, were you not?
I was just short of that, actually, sadly. But coming back for the Pro Tour this year, Skusa, looking to do a little more on the X30 side of things this year, so looking to make USPKS happen, trying to get some support from people. But, you know, having a great time coaching under Ryan 10th this weekend, working with all the drivers and learning to coach as well. So ready to get back in the seat soon. Maybe when it's a little warmer. I'm too cold today.
And, you know, we didn't really get to talk to you towards the back end of the weekend of the Supernats, but it was a great start to it, right? A pole position. I know we spoke right after it, and you were obviously happy. But, you know, as the weekend progressed, what kind of fell off for you guys, you know, back in November that you learned to try and take into this year?
Yeah, I mean, Supernats was great. I mean, we took everything out of that we could. Obviously, the results weren't what we wanted, but I take away all the positives out of it. But, you know, looking into this year, we just keep our head down, keep working as hard as we can at home. You know, I keep coming up with as many ideas as possible, trying to develop and be as strong as I can as a driver myself. And when I show up to these races, we're as strong as possible.
What do you tell him, Buddy, here this weekend? I know you guys are great friends, right? And also Sonny's in there. What do you kind of tell him this weekend to try and get him closer to the front of the field?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to be a good friend to him. I'm kind of letting the coaching on the X30 side of things sit more to Ryan and Gary, and, you know, trying to sit there and listen and pay attention to how they dissect things and what's going on and learn from Ryan as well, so that when I get back in the seat, hopefully I'm a bit stronger.
There you go, Jake. Well, we're excited to see you, and I think it might be closer to your home. Arizona, I think, is where we're going. So we'll see you then.
Yeah, won't have to get on a plane.
There you go. That's Jake Drew. We thank him for joining us as well, and we'll keep working our way around as we catch up with more drivers.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy, because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Sunoco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Welcome back here to Speedsportz Racing Park, and we're back on the balcony. Dave, we're back with a bird's eye view just right by Howden Sauer up here, right over the kart shop. But on the racetrack now, the Mini Swifts. I think arguably, for me, my favorite race of the day yesterday on the Saturday. And these kids, you know, year after year, week after week, the competition levels, and you see it rise, right? From Micro Swift when the drivers go up to Mini Swift, and then they go up to Junior, so on and so forth. But the level of competition that's out there this weekend, there's about 10 different drivers, 15 even more, that were proven race winners in Micro Swift that have now worked their way up to Mini Swift. That was one of our biggest graduating classes, and you know, drivers that moved down from the lower division up to the Mini Swift class. So, the level of competition has been raised. Dave, you were down there, in the scales, talking to those kiddos, seeing them on grid. What did you take from it, especially seeing drivers this young with that much competition and that much fire to go out there and win a race?
Well, there's a point yesterday that I think there was a group of about 20 of them racing for the lead. I mean, it was unbelievable racing. And, you mentioned it, Caleb. I mean, these kids are so mature. I mean, that's the thing that I always take away is that, how well trained they are, not only in the craft of driving. I mean, we see that right now, right? I mean, what were you doing at 5 years old? I know what I was doing. It wasn't this, right? So I love that part of it, but also when they get out of the car, they know what they're doing. I mean, it's so many of these interviews are more professional than some of the IndyCar drivers I talk to. So, it's like, wow, you guys really know. So for me, that has been one of the coolest parts of karting is just seeing these kids come up. And, some of the kids that were in Mini and Micro, when I started this, and I only started this a couple of years ago, they're now, in KA and some of them even in X30 at this point. So that's wild to see, and it's just amazing to watch the development of some of these kids. And believe it or not, they put on some great entertainment.
Yeah, we talk about the move for the race win, right?
Yeah.
A very gutsy move in turn number 6, and as well a move that takes, a lot of kind of intellect, racing intellect, if you will. To get a move done like that for Jake Manali around the outside was wild, I think, to say the least. But that was a great move, right? And you saw class moves like that all throughout the day yesterday. So to me, Mini Swift is the one to keep an eye on for me today. That was great. And even I look back at last year, right? Whenever we were at that level of racing throughout the year last year, and even then they found themselves going over the line a little bit. And after getting a good talking to by all three of the big national series, they kind of dialed it back a little bit, toned it back a little bit. And it was great racing. It was clean from there on out. So I'm excited to see what these drivers can do, and as well, new names, right? You talk about those rookies that have moved up, gotten themselves into the Mini Swift class. This is a new opportunity for them to now learn and develop, which is going to be almost a 2-year kind of stay in the Mini Swift division until they move up into the junior class. So it's exciting. We'll see what they can do. And again, you talk a lot about the rookies, right? So I'm excited to see one of them. One of them we didn't get to see much of was Dutch Westbrook yesterday. Yeah. He is local to DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, only 4 hours away. And unfortunately for him, just no luck at the start of the races, just couldn't even get going. and we'll see what he can do, right? But it's all about qualifying and putting yourself in a good position.
Yeah, well, that's going to be true for all these classes, right? And, you know, something I thought was interesting about that move that Jake made yesterday is that, you know, one of the things that you guys were talking about was the fact that there's not a lot of brakes used. So how on earth was he out-braking someone, not only out-braking someone into turn 6, but out-braking someone into turn 6 on the outside? I mean, that was unbelievable. So I think this is going to be a fascinating day in all of the classes. You know, it also helps, too, if you wreck it today, you know, your mechanic has more time to fix it. So hopefully the level of intensity will pick up a little bit more today in all of the classes. I think it's going to be wild.
Yeah, it will be. And again, we're talking about Mini Swift right now on the racetrack. They actually just finished. The shifters are coming up next, and we'll dive into them before I do have to leave you here.
Yeah.
Talk about, you know, IMSA driver Nick Bull, who's out there.
IMSA right champion in LMP2.
My apologies.
You got to put some respect on his name, but no, I mean it's a great field for, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about how it's a smaller field than we've actually seen. You know, the crazy thing about Pro Shifter is again kind of in my times, you know, with karting, it was very, you know, even national events we saw very small fields when I started coming here, and the level of growth and the competition level and the amount of competitive drivers in that class is absolutely unbelievable. The class of the field right now is Jay Irwin.
Yeah, and let me tell you this, back to your point of the amount of numbers that we have here this weekend. You look back at last year, we had 10 just about, and with some Masters even there. This time,
15 pros.
It's just pros.
Yeah.
Pros have made their way out here. We're at about, you know, 15 plus this weekend, which is a great number when you look at the Winter Series throughout the years, right? This is usually an event that's a preseason event. Teams from the East Coast and the West Coast don't usually want to come down for these events, but we have drivers from all over the place, right? We have our Canadians that have come down all the way down to the bottom of the U.S. to take a part of this event. And there's a lot of local drivers, right, that are here. One of those was JP Melchiori that we talked about yesterday, getting himself inside of the top 4. So really fascinating qualifying, and then the starts, and it shows you the experience, right, of what it takes to be here and to run at the front against this class of field. You can talk about Jay Irwin, you talk about Gavin Bailiff. 2 drivers that I'm excited to see go at it today, because Gavin couldn't really show us much after the qualifying and after his pre-final, and then after the main event as well, where he went for a half spin. Jay, though, has been fast.
The question mark is Billy Musgrave. He had a spindle issue yesterday that took him out. Probably couldn't show exactly the speed that factory kart could have proved yesterday. So I'm curious about Pro Tour champ Billy Musgrave.
What about Justin White, first-time winner last year?
Well, Justin White, too. I think Justin White is going to be up there. I mean, it's going to be – I don't think it's going to be an Irwin runaway today. At least I certainly hope not, because it's pretty much the main event, right? It's the last race of the day. We want to see something exciting, and I think we will.
Yeah, so again, if you want to watch all the racing action live later on today, don't forget to become a KC Premium member for only $9.99 a month. You can catch all the racing action live, so make sure to join us. Join us later on today for myself and Dave. Dave, you'll be down here for the rest of the day. I'm heading back up to the booth with Xander.
He gets to sit in the warm. That's not fair. That's not fair, but it's okay. I signed up for this, and I'm from Indiana. I can take it.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Myself, little Texas boy, if you will.
He's sensitive.
I'm glad I'm inside. No, Dave, pleasure to join you here in the morning. Going back to the booth, and I'll be hearing from you a whole lot today.
It's good to have company, Caleb. I get lonely down here sometimes.
We'll enjoy some Pro Shifter warm-up action. Thank you.
IAMI USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
It's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Time to qualify for round 2 of the 2026 Skusa Winter Series. Caleb Viesca, myself, Xander Clemens there in the booth. And, of course, you heard from Caleb and David Land down on pit lane talking to a number of the superstars in the paddock today as they finish their practice sessions and gear up for another full round of action. K100 Junior presented by TKG Bureau Art USA on the racetrack. Nathan Golseth, a winner in X30 Junior, a decent day in KA100 Junior, but he was not up at the front in that head-to-head fight between Easton Cox and Travis Pettit. He needs to start the day with a decent qualifying effort, and he'll have to do it fighting uphill as the qualifying groups, just like yesterday, were set from Friday happy hour time, so he finds himself having to go out first on the cooler racetrack to go out and set a lap time. His initial lap around, of course, just showing on the pylon, but not quite accurate as they were leaving the pit lane. So this is really the first lap at speed. He and Arthur Barb with a little gap back to Nico Katowski's crew with about 4 karts right in line on with him, including Nico Orbezo there in that green and white Tony kart. 4K100 Junior, you touched on how the Mini Swift race was a pack race to the end. This class seemed to be much more critical when it came down to qualifying than the kids in Mini Swift, because so early on in both the main event and the pre-final, the top couple were able to break away. Once that pack split, nobody was really able to make headway. Everyone was smart. So I think that's why right now this is probably the most important session of the day for anyone involved in KA Junior. And that if you don't start high enough, based on what we saw on round number 1, you're not going to be able to at least get up into the fight for the win. You might be able to steal a podium, as we saw towards the end of the day yesterday, but you need to be in those first couple of rows, depending on wherever the pack's going to split and how that first lap shakes out, to have a shot.
Yeah, we saw that a lot yesterday, right? And I really think a lot like the Mini Swift class, this can be a pack race. And I do believe that we can see that. But, again, a lot has to go right for a lot of these drivers. And as well, we talked about it, right? A lot of drivers in this second group kind of misplaced, or first group, if you will, misplaced to where they should be, or where we're used to seeing them, as well as some of the local drivers like Nico Orbezo, who's currently fastest by about just under half a second to the rest of the field. 5/10 is what he has as he works his way down on the front stretch, and this will be his final lap. So Golseth looks like got the checkered flag. Everybody else as well. And Orbezo going to top the timing charts with Murphy, and not for long as Bolanos in the 8:05 with a 55.777.
to put it to the top. As Orbezo slotted to second, to Murphy, to Golseth, to Arthur Barb, Lucas Drivey, Pereira, Escoto, Baldus, and Balag, your top 10. So a very competitive field, like we said. And again, we did see it yesterday where drivers from this group were able to kind of slot themselves in a good position at the end of qualifying to be inside of the top 10 and even inside of the top 15. So not everything's done yet. We are still waiting for that second group to come out. And again, anything can happen, as we're used to seeing, gamesmanship and other things of sorts in the fast group. So we'll see. As I'd like to Travis Pettit and yesterday's winner, first-time winner on the national scene, Easton Cox, gets ready to now come onto the racetrack as a winner.
And even though Travis Pettit didn't come away with the win, he did end up, at the least, with a 10-point bonus when the checkered flag flew by getting the fastest lap time. That'll help from the 20-point deficit of coming shy of victory and, of course, giving up 15 points in the pre-final with Cox finishing second and Pettit finishing in fourth. Where we'll see sometimes the slow group end up a little better than some drivers in the fast group is what you're starting to see on screen right now, and that is everyone repositioning in the fast group because they know that the subtle difference of a tenth to 2 tenths could be that toe lap or not having one, and if they mess around too much, well, the group that just went out that seemed like a pretty run-of-the-mill session looked no different than a practice of all of them going straight off the grid and hitting their marks regardless of whether or not they'd be around other drivers or in traffic. They get 4 clean laps, and the fast group messes about. But as they've been released, and now with the outlap completed, seems like kicking things off here with Carson and Mason Berry and Tyrone Kemper Jr., the likes, towards the early part of the group out on circuit. They're not waiting at all. They're going ahead and trying to still weave some heat into the tires. And maybe that, again, is the bigger reason why we're not seeing more gamesmanship here in qualifying for rounds 1 and 2 of the Skusa Winter Series, is the colder conditions have shifted the focus from trying to sacrifice maybe bringing heat into the tires because you could bring them up at any given lap and repositioning yourself, backing off, taking it easy at any given point just to line up for that super toe. If you sacrifice even just half a lap of going slow, letting the tires cool back down, someone else that's going full bore straight out of the pit lane will end up significantly better than what you might have been able to gain by the slipstream just because they've got that little bit higher temp in the tires and a little higher air pressure. And ultimately, it gives us a better way to gauge who looks good across the board in the entire session. Here's your first couple of laps from this second group. Top of the board in the group, yesterday's runner-up Travis Pettit. He goes to 16th off the bat right there. So 16th on his first lap at speed. Tyrone Kemper Jr. towing up to the back of Carson Berry, went to second in the group, 17th. Easton Cox, yesterday's winner, 18th currently. So the 2 play to Travis Pettit. Man, I remember back to Newcastle Motorsports Park last year. He was so bummed how close he came to getting titles at both the Skusa Pro Tour and the U.S. Pro Kart Series. Had a serious shot at all 4. And, of course, sporting that 2 plate all year long in 2026. You get to debut it at the Supernats at the end of the previous season, then run it for the entirety of the next year. It's a great motivator. When you go to the racetrack, you pull the cart cover off and you look and say, yeah, that's not a number 1. I was 1 spot shy. And I think not like this young man needs any more excitement or anything else to get him up out of bed in the morning. Seeing that 2 plate certainly doesn't hurt. And right now, there he goes, top of the board here on lap number 2 at speed.
Yeah, next up is Tyrone Kemper Jr., who's in 5th. Carson and Masonberry both 7th and 8th. So already a couple of drivers starting to make a little bit of an impression. Easton Cox, like we talked about, yesterday's winner, he's up to 9th. Colton Schniegenberg, only 10 years old, running double duty here this weekend. I think one of the youngest to do that is currently sitting in 12th in the 827 for Ryan Perry Motorsports. So still looking for a little bit more. These drivers are getting set to close this one out as one driver's lost an airbox. Then you see that in the infield of turn number 11. But here we go. Around the stripe this time by. Can Carson Kemper get an extra lap? They won't. Across the line, Carson Berry to second. Colton Schniegenberg to the top with Fernandez now to second. Travis Pettit crosses, not enough. And I think that might be a pole position for Colton Schniegenberg in KA100 Junior as a rookie.
First weekend on the package. Colton Schniegenberg gets a little bit of help, more than likely, from the 2 cars you can see just in front of him. Carson Berry, one of them, who still will end up 5th. And it's another shakeup on the leaderboard. Kudos to Easton Cox again to back up the performance from Saturday. He'll line up 3rd for the pre-final. Benja Fernandez, another solid qualifying effort with the MPG Kart Republic crew. Look at this, Nathan Golseth out of that first group, first car out onto the circuit, so no rabbit to chase or tow. Ends 14th. Mason Berry down in 15th, still better than yesterday, as he and his brother both had a day of miscues that put them buried in the field. This will be a little bit easier to fight from and onwards from there. Lawrence Perriman got towards the front at the end of the day. How about Nico Kutowski deep in the pack here? Front runner in X30 Junior, 29th with the checkered flag out here in KA100 Junior Qualifying, and the rest of the groups, or the rest of the overall results on screen right now, going all the way back to Hudson Thomas and Christopher Goulet. Mia Johnson there, 35th. First qualifying group in the books. KA100 Junior wrapped. How about that for Colton Schneegenberg? That young man and Ryan Perry Motorsport. That's a nice pick-me-up after yesterday. A heartbreaker for RPM. Davin Roberts, of course, will not be competing today. That's a driver that comes from a very humble background. They only had a single motor for the entire weekend. With that motor, of course, out of compliance, and took him out. They didn't have any other options, and the budget's not there for them to get anything else to power him to the front. So we won't get to see the young sensation for round number 2. We wish the best and hope to get to see him again. Nonetheless, okay, Senior is getting set to roll here shortly.
KA Senior hits the racetrack, presented by Orsilon Racing. And yesterday, their very own Sebastian Garzone in the 951 was able to get the win and put them on the top step of the podium. The first one for Sebastian Garzone in the KA 100 senior ranks. And in the senior ranks, period, his last win to date was back at the Super Nationals in 2024. So we'll see what he can do. And again, this is a very stacked class with a good number of drivers, about 36 total here. And again, we talked to Finnegan Bailiff already this morning. They're looking for a little bit more. He had a DNF at the end of yesterday when it came down to KA 100 Senior. He does find himself in this group, and there he is as he works his way into the boot, into turn number 14. So we'll see. It's all about setting it in a fast lap. And again, speaking with David throughout the morning today was just a topic of conversation was really the lower temp conditions, and as well for these drivers just getting on with it, going from the get-go, trying to put in temperature into those tires as this session continues to progress, and you see Finnegan Bailiff doing just that. No time to warm up as, again, they'll warm up as the lap goes on, and that's exactly what he's doing as he hits the back straightaway. Max Weiland, another driver that we talked a little bit about yesterday, a rookie in the class for MPG Motorsports. And he is racing Pro X30 and in the KA Senior category, just like he did it as a junior driver. But for Max, he'll be one of the ones excited to see work his way through this field. On his first start, Chris Harrower, first one on the BJR LN karts, out there with the likes of Shane Reddy, who we also saw just previously on the grid. Jared Clark is in this group as well. Their teammate, Mateo Rubio Luengo, with a good result yesterday to finish second, and it was all said and done. So keep an eye on all those drivers as they work their way through. First couple laps starting to come in. And speaking of Jared Clark, just went fastest to 56.019 to Harrower to Matthew Cagle. Talk about rookies getting maiden podiums with Schniekenberg and Junior. Matthew Cagle puts himself up to third in the 948 for the Ryan Norberg Karting Academy. To Keys in the 996 to Hewitt, your top 5 for Speed Concepts Racing. Into turn number 15 for Finnegan Bailiff across the line, puts himself to the top. So with 3 laps completed, 1 more to go left in qualifying for these drivers that are looking to race their way out of the back of the pack and into the top 10, hopefully your top 15, to put themselves in a good starting position inside of the first couple rows. Bailiff improved, but it was a 6/10 swing of it to Jared Clark, who's just a little bit ways back compared to where Bailiff is on the racetrack. Weiland has been getting past. He's only 14th at the moment. And again, for those of you at home, got to remember there's still a fast group getting set to hit the racetrack in a couple of moments. So Clark, the time to beat, a 55.061. Still in his last lap was that little bit better. Bailiff going to be the first one to take the checkered flag. He's down in 8th. Can he improve any bit? Across the line for Finnegan Bailiff, up to 4th. Drops down to 6th. Cagle improves to 2nd. Tortato and 4th to Chambers. To Clark, who goes even better. A 54.655 for Jared Clark to take the provisional pole in the 926. Ready in the 24. Just a 10th back to Cagle. To Tortato, the first of the Orslin Racing drivers. To Chambers, to Harrower, Hewitt, Weiland, Duran, and Lucas Fink. Your top 10. Finnegan Bailiff slotted all the way down to 11th. And it was all said and done. There's some work to do for the 949 here later on today throughout the pre-final, looks like, to try and work his way through the field. Nonetheless, second group getting set to hit the racetrack, led by Sawyer Roussel, the driver who we talked about yesterday, being fast throughout the happy hour session. Went fastest overall. It's ready to lead this field out with Cameron Weinberg, with Davis Henry, another rookie who's racing in the junior division last year, works his way up to his first national senior race start here this weekend. Like to Derek Wargo, who got his first senior win over at Cup Karts North America in the senior light division. Started to start his first race as a KA100 senior driver for Macron Motorsports with the newly announced Doug Foxworth taking part as team manager. So a good relationship with Derek Wargo, and we'll see what he can do on his first start as a senior. Goes out in the faster group at the back of the pack. We'll see what he can do to get himself up into contention here today. And already, Sawyer Roussel, Davis Henry will be tripping over each other with lap number 1 already underway. And not really much of a warm-up lap, and this is where it starts. Weinberg going to slow down, Roussel going to slow down as well. It looked like maybe Norman was the driver that went around them all and got himself up to the front, and that looks like exactly what happened. As Weinberg now going to have somebody to chase. He slots back to second. Here's Perkins, Bonilla, and Colin Lloyd, 3 drivers with pace. And K100 senior Perkins looking for a little more, just slotted out of the podium places. Donovan Bonilla, who's on the edge of the top 10 as well, looking to work his way through, as Lloyd going to take it to the bottom of the track. And again, these drivers just not benefiting at all from these slower laps this early in the qualifying session. That being said, this is lap number 2, so 2 laps that you realistically need to put in, 1, good temperature of the tires, and 2, setting a good lap time, get yourself comfortable. You follow along with Norman, and they still continue to shuffle here for position. Bonilla is going to go ahead of Davis Henry, with Cash Perkins just right behind him. And Weinberg going to reposition himself again. So a lot of gamesmanship to start the first couple laps. Lap number 3 is getting ready to go underway, though. These drivers are going to have to get on with it here shortly.
Big move there by Donovan Bonilla to make another pass, and right behind him as well, the entire pack going side by side and back and forth. This will just only make things tougher to try and get a clean lap in there. You saw Ibrahim Dean even pop the front in the air. Chase Gassiet leads in this group. Yesterday's pole award winner, Mateo Rubio Luengo. Bad news for all of them because they're only going to get one more shot at this. They need to find clean air right now. There you saw Ibrahim letting Mateo through, trying to reposition. He'll have one final shot to rectify it as they all work through the traffic. Sawyer Roussel leads the group. Bonilla right on his heels. And Jared Clark through that from the slow group still holds. In fact, the best one out of this group on track right now. Colin Lloyd's only 7th. This will need to be a monster final lap for a number of drivers, or they're going to be buried behind probably 15 karts or more than where their speed may put them. There you see Rubio Luengo making a pass on Cameron Weinberg, so that'll hurt him a little bit on the final lap. Weinberg right now from fastest in happy hour, 16th on the board, and he may drop even further when this lap concludes. Bonilla going by Roussel, and he's not alone. Sawyer Roussel down 2 spots on this lap. Where is Sawyer currently? Buried. He had to start dead last in the main event yesterday. Got a jump start penalty. Still made up a number of spots on track. He's 24th right now. Checkers should be falling any second. There it goes. Bonilla, Cash Perkins jumping up. Rubio Luengo will jump up as well. And a huge lap out of Colin Lloyd. Velocity Racing Sodi's number 1 man here in KA Senior yesterday backs it up and goes fully to the top of the board to kick off Sunday morning, nearly 3/10 above everybody else. Now, we don't know for sure if Donovan Bonilla made it before the checkers. It looked like he thought he may have made it as well, but he'll get sent to the pit lane. It was close, right on the time charts there. But Colin Lloyd and the Velocity Racing Sodi crew, that's a huge delta, Caleb. One of the bigger ones we've seen in recent memory for the K100 senior class that's known for having times down to the thousands, and it was very close beyond him. Jared Clark out of the slow group, though. How about that?
And I was about to mention, right, for Clark to get himself up to 2nd on the front row for the pre-final. A great showing for Colin Lloyd as well. For Garzone, yesterday's winner, it took him some time. Looked nerve-wracking there for a little bit, but when he crossed the stripe, it was 3rd. So far, so good for Sebastian Garzone. Nonetheless, a couple of drivers misplaced. Talk about Donovan Bonilla down in 12th, as well as a couple of others. Max Weiling getting ready to go from 20th. So a little bit of a mix-up there, and for Finnegan Bailiff, who we talked about, first one out in that group, just 1 spot short from getting himself into the fast group, finds himself 24th. But again, a lot of drivers just kind of tripping over each other. A little bit too close. But for some others, like Colin Lloyd, who decided to wait on the back straightaway, repositioned himself perfectly to put himself on the pole position, starting on the inside. Best seat in the house for Colin Lloyd to get going later on today.
Gee, looks like we're missing the engine. What the hell am I supposed to tag?
What do you mean? It's my Greyhound. It's all I need.
Where's the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
You gotta make way. Okay, you're good.
I'm sitting by here with Kyle, our race winner. Tell me how you did it. You were blazing fast out there, and I mean, you don't even have a go-kart, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, Norberg, Schmorberg, the Greyhound-powered Greyhound was great today. You know, it makes the difference. And the team's been working really hard back at the shop, and, you know, just shout out Greyhound.
Thank you, Kyle.
How the f did you just win?
Doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
Cool features that Race Studio 3 has that people normally don't know about it. If you look on the bottom left, I have the weather.
Welcome back here. We're with Colin Lloyd, who just threw down a heater here in the chilly weather. So kind of talk about that qualifying session and that lap there to put it on pole.
So yesterday saw that a couple people were messing around in the front, so I tried to get out by myself last time, and seemed like it worked okay, so I tried to do the same thing today, but the front group was messing around even more, so I decided to wait, and I think that worked out pretty good.
I would certainly say so. So as we look forward to racing here in just a few minutes, what's kind of the thought process of what this track's going to race like today? A little bit cooler than it even was yesterday, and we saw how challenging that was.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit more crazy today. Couple iffy moves by some other people let the winner get away, but I think it's definitely going to be a lot closer today. I hope so.
I do too. Colin Lloyd, he's fast. He's probably going to be fast later today too.
Thank you, Dave. And indeed, just like we talked in junior, it was no different in KA senior. You have to be really, really careful of the moves that you make to not let the leader get gone. At the same point, it was hard to really take anything away from Sebastian Garzon's charge yesterday, Caleb. That kid, he was on a mission, and it was just a matter of time before that one opportunity was going to let him break away, and they were not going to be able to catch him again. He carved up the field and made it look easy. Micro Swift, even easier, it felt like, for Jack Katowski. He was on another level. The closest to him being Tristan Francisco. Both those drivers safely made the fast group. This is the first half, the bottom half from Friday Happy Hour. But I think from yesterday, with how many drivers were probably new to the circuit and new to the division and new to racing on the national stage, you might see some spills right there, but equally some pretty quick progression over the weekend and a shake-up from third on back.
Yeah, you see a lot of drivers find pace session after session, and again, it's just a learning experience, right? For a lot of these young drivers that are starting their really first big national race, as we see here with a couple on your screen now. White, they're one of the ones in the 224, as well as looks like the 228 there of Santos Rodriguez there, as he works his way to turn number 14. So a lot of new drivers, a lot of new faces, which is good to see, right? The sport's growing. More young drivers are working their way into the division, which is a good thing to see. As well as Trey Sanders, who puts himself to the top of the timing charts for a second. Botero Duculescu, competitive lap times to start off this session. We'll see them drop into the 101s as well once the fast group hits. But it's Duculescu to Sanders to Baker, and more change as Wiley Lee puts himself fastest in the 218. Wiley was racing last year with a waiver, I believe only 6 years old, and then took the back half of the year off and rejoins us here this year now as a 7-year-old, fully able to race with us here at Superkarts USA for the entirety of 2026. But a little bit of movement here in between Rodriguez and White. They continue to fight and shuffle for position just in the infield section, and double rights there that are going back and forth. But here we go as they get ready to complete lap number 3. And these drivers are going to have to space themselves a little bit better to try and set in a good lap time.
At the same point, when you really don't know all your competitors too well, one of them might be fast enough that you could tow off of or drive away from you a little bit. And they're equally probably learning lap by lap, because these conditions are still going to be vastly different than what they qualified on a day ago. Temps about another 10 to 15 degrees cooler. Winds a little bit lower. At the same point, a full day of rubber added onto the surface. And the sun's out. Feels like it's been out a little bit sooner in the day than yesterday. But the grip certainly lower, and more than anything else here, learning how to navigate qualifying and not get caught up in moments like that. Enzo Botero going around the high side as 2 cars in front of him get tangled up. Remember, he was one of our major contenders in the top 5 yesterday. Had a couple of ups and downs throughout the main event, but the Orsolone Racing Tony Kart still second with a lap in the books behind Wiley Lee. Vettel Baker in the 209 was the one that kind of got away from this group. On the other side, JJ DeShong, I think, was the one that kind of got spun sideways.
Sebastian Kim there on the 220, I believe, on the MSL Racing.
Indeed,
CRG,
yeah, there's Vettel.
So.
And then there's JJ, and then, yeah, it was Sebastian Kim, mixing up the black and oranges.
Yeah, there you go. Going for Garza was the second one across, only 8th. Wiley Lee looks to hold on to the fastest time at 1:01.5. He crosses now. Does he improve any bits? And no improvement for Wiley at 1:01.7 the last time around. And JJ DeShong in the 299 now. With a white helmet, orange stripes. Puts himself up to first. Shep Sullivan. That's not going to last long for JJ. Shep Sullivan with a 1:01.3 puts himself to the top of the timing charts. And great to speak to Sean Owens as well, right? Of just trying to keep his kid calm and as well keeping him focused, right? A lot of friends out here. You're
going to get asked to do a lot more interviews with tuners and driver coaches if their kid goes fastest in the group every single time.
Probably.
You're 1 for 1 today. How about that? Shep Sullivan, quickest at the end of the first group. Second group on tap here, ready to go for micro.
Yeah, second half with Tristan Francisco and Max Santana, 2 of the drivers that found themselves on the podium. Max racing out of Mexico City, Mexico for Kart with CRG Mexico, and he makes a trip down here for his first, or one of his first, to my knowledge, starts stateside. With the second group, they're all looking to go faster than the Burlart machine for the Trinity Karting Group. And Jack Katowski, the 204 Rapid yesterday. Nobody had an answer, and we'll see if anybody has an answer here today in the qualifying session. Francisco leads them out over Santana to Bodie Byer to Cohen Scott, as well as the 213 there of Compatiello. And Jack Katowski just in the middle of Scott's going to loop it around in the 292. Looks like one of the Burrells as well in the 298 of Gomez. Just nowhere to go, and Gomez going to be beached now over the curve. Going to look to get that moved.
Fortunately, it looks like he'll get going, but he'll be all by himself for the duration of the session. Here's a look at the 217 of Francisco. He's gotten away from the pack, and you can still see he's struggling for front bite. Had to miss the apex a little bit there in turn 13. How about the 213 TB card as well, right behind him, making a nice little move to get a bit higher. Liam Compatiello. He'll start this lap probably if he can really nail this next section in a great spot for lap 3, if not even for the lap that he's on, to toe off the back of the second quickest kid who, to Tristan's credit, I mean, he was right there with Jack Katowski lap time-wise in the pre-final. He only fell back to third off the start. That was about the gap through the end. They were kind of trading fast lap of the session from lap 5 to lap number 10, and you could say maybe Jack was on cruise control at that point. In the main event, though, he had a little bit left to find or to search for to stay on pace with Jack. Even though he got shuffled, buried in the pack, by the time he got up to second, Jack was gone. And you would have thought, okay, well, if it's like the pre-final, the gap would hold. But no, the 204, Jack Katowski, he just continued to build on the margin over the duration of that 18-lap final. It was incredible to watch. And you can see he's still pushing the limits there, even though he goes a little bit over it. That's what the best drivers do. They'll go to the edge, they'll find the limit. They'll have to find it by usually going past the limit and then dial it back. Now, unfortunately, that was the start of this final lap around. It was the end of that lap that they were working on. They might get one more. They've got 2 on the books right now. This would be the end of lap number 3, so he should be okay with a full lap to clean the tires off, but that'll mean all the pressure is going to be on the final lap here.
That's big, and we have already seen big swings on that final lap. It's critical for Katowski, yesterday's winner, to try and, again, just perfect that section back in the boot. It's a section where, again, if you overdrive that corner in turn number 14, you will find yourself going off right before turn 15 into the buckle. So far, so good for Katowski, but he's catching the rear bumper here of Santana in the 219. They're working their way through now. The first one across is going to be Tristan Francisco. It's a good exit for Katowski this next time around, and a great draft for him as well on the front straightaway. Francisco doesn't improve, stays third. Katowski doesn't improve either, stays in 7th. And I didn't see the checkered flag either, so there's still more time. It looked like Katowski now improved, so he went fastest. My apologies there, as it's now updating. Francisco to second, Schiavo to third, to Sullivan, who's down in sixth, but Katowski in the 204, currently fastest overall.
Wait and see if it sticks here. Jack Katowski needs another good lap, more than likely, as everyone's going to find more speed over the course of this final circuit. And even with all the dirt kicked up from the out lap, they've been able to put a good lap in on the second lap really at speed. So here we go, coming to the checkered flag, this time by in Avinco Tires Micro Swift. Jack Katowski with a 3/10 cushion over Tristan Francisco. It's like any other session, he's still going to need to go faster on his final lap to keep that gap over him. There's Tristan up the road, will be the first to the line. Tristan will hit the loop, and I don't think he'll find anything more. Yes, he will, but it still won't be enough. Katowski finds a good chunk more, 1 minute, .27. That'll pull the gap up to 4/10. How about Cohen Scott moving up the leaderboard? He'll go to third. Dusty Strayer to fourth. Franco Schiavo to fifth. Max Santana sixth. Liam Campatiello falls down to the ninth spot. Shep Sullivan still holds strong. That'll put him above a couple of the drivers at the back of the fast group. Fastest from group number 1 into the top 10. Maybe some more cider, not yet, but he's on track for it here, getting to the outside of row number 5. That's a good way to kick off the day.
Yeah, not bad there, as well as a couple of other drivers. Dusty Strayer, 1 spot short of the podium yesterday. Starts fourth to Schiavo. As our X30 juniors get ready to hit the racetrack. Yesterday, Travis Pettit was able to finish first on the racetrack. I think a post-race penalty set him on the back foot, which gave the win over to Nathan Golseth. So for X30 Juniors, presented by the Rawlson Performance Group, looking for a little bit more here today. Likes of Aston Wyatt there. Bad luck yesterday. Hoping to find something here today.
Features that Race Shooter 3 has that people normally don't know about it. If you look on the bottom left, I have the weather showing my ambient temperature, pressure, humidity, and even the wind direction and wind speed. To be able to get this, you got to create an account on the AIM website and just log in. If you log in and have internet on, it will pull the weather from the previous year of sessions that you have.
If you want to learn more about data analysis, sign up on my website. I will be launching an online course in December for people like you.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
You have to fight to pull ahead, to find your edge, to do whatever it takes to make you 1/10 of a second faster, smarter, more committed than the other guy, because you've got the kind of passion that can overcome the impossible. And we've got the most powerful performance race fuel available to help you do it. Sunoco Race Fuels. Take the lead.
Karts release for group number 1 of Rawlson Performance Group X30 Junior as they rocket down the back straightaway. And just like in KA Junior, there's only 1 or 2 that really will be notable from the happy hour that ended up down here, but those 2 going around right off the rip. Leo Da Silva, one of them.
Clayton Stiles, the other in the 737 for Iron Rock Motorsports.
And Stiles had a rough go yesterday, had to go to the rear in one of the sessions. There were a number of penalties in KA Junior. X30 Junior was far from clean as well. The officials were very active when you look back at the final results from Saturday. Just the main event alone, for one, there were a grand total of what appears to be 5 incident responsibility penalties. There was, along with that, 3 that got caught for scrubbing tires after the commitment cone. That's a 3-second penalty.
Travis Pettit, one of those.
Indeed, and that's what took him off the win. We had mentioned that at the beginning of the day in the pre-finals, where it was obviously a lot colder and more notable, that going into the S's, that last blue cone, you're no longer allowed to warm the tires up, but this is what happens sometimes when the tires are cold. You have no grip. William Vitor, full on, basically hydroplaning essentially. 0 grip when he locked the brakes up going into the corner, and he had a good 20-foot slide there into the outside grass.
And again, that's one of the things that Jesus Vasquez Jr. talked about this morning, right? That you're out there hydroplaning, and Dave asked him if there's no water out there. And that's what it feels like. It feels like just that. And you saw it there with William Vitor as he went around in turn number 6. So that being said, a couple of rookies in the field, Enzo Di Janeiro, as well as a couple of more. William Vitor drove for the majority of last year in the division for the juniors. So see him when we'll see what he can do as now Carson Berry, or I believe Mason Berry, puts himself up to second there in the 720. So Mason with a good showing to start off. Tristan Murphy's in this group. We talked about him being displaced. Usually the driver we see fight up at the front in this group in the back half. So we'll wait for it. Already 2 laps completed, getting ready to complete lap number 3. And Enzo Di Janeiro, I think exactly that. Just needs to put himself in a little bit of a better position as he goes through on Asher Pavan in the 754 to try and reposition himself. Tristan Murphy going to go as well, and I think that move, we'll see if he can carry enough momentum into the first couple corners. They're having a pass in turn 14, but here we go, last lap. Enzo Di Janeiro goes to the top. Not for long. Steinbrook, Wagner, Aston White in the 721 up to 3rd. So some change for the top 3. Mason Berry up to 4th. But last lap underway. This will be lap number 4, and from what myself and Xander kind of coined it yesterday, the money lap, the important lap to try and position yourself for a good starting spot later on today in the pre-final. Here we go. Halfway through the lap, half a lap to go.
No passing of this main group we're watching. All of them lined up pretty nice right now. Aston Wyatt right at the back of him, climbed up over the curb and closed up a little bit on the car in front. Tristan Murphy as well here to finish this lap out. They're going to pass behind him, so that'll hurt those 2 in particular. Steinbrook having to make that move. That'll probably drop him. Let's see. To the loop. Murphy to the top. Steinbrook will hold in 2nd. Aston Wyatt up to 3rd. Braden Wagner to 4th. And that may be all she wrote here from group number 1, at least of that time by the timing loop. Tristan Murphy, a 53.794. Now the checkers, I don't believe, had waved on them yet, so they're going to go all the way to 5. Will the entirety of the group get there? It looks like so far, because they were really quick out of the pit lane. So this will be the last time. Will the fast group, will all of them in the fast group get to the end? Or were the drivers like right here, the ones that were just below the middle split? There you have the back half of the group that did get the checkers. So this is how, of course, Davin Roberts was able to end up 5th yesterday. Blake Nash mentioned that it was something that he was a little concerned about, having to start roll off, I believe, 8th or 10th for Pro X30 quality. That's right around where the timer just ends up hitting 0. In the case of these first 7, they're going to get that extra lap. Enzo Di Janeiro will put it to use. 53.75 on the bonus lap. And he'll go just enough to nip Tristan Murphy here in group number 1, set the new benchmark, move himself to the top of the board.
Yeah, good lap there out of Enzo Di Janeiro to get himself up into the top spot on the 790. But again, fast group still yet to hit the racetrack here. The likes of Royce Vega, who we saw, one of the drivers who was fast yesterday. Same for a couple of others. Yesterday's winner, Nathan Golseth, as well as Travis Pettit, was able to cross the line first. And more are getting set to come out. So we'll keep an eye on it here, but again, you've already seen the strategy here. You've already seen what's the name of the game in qualifying. Getting on with it, going, and for Royce Vega being in front of this field, this is perfect for him to try and get that extra lap that we saw for those first 6 drivers in the slower group.
I think only maybe the first 5 are probably going to be safe at this point here, Caleb. It's a mad scrum for that latter half of the pack. They probably will not get a lap. It'll be the cut's going to be right around Nico Katowski, I think. The question will be right there. The big slide for Liam Nachawati running behind Marco Samet, whether or not they're going to get to 5. And again, it's the same for everybody. It's the same everywhere we go. It's simple to enforce and keep it even. It happened at the Skusa Supernats as well. I mean, you have different lap times for different classes. So to try and keep the overall race day on schedule, running a timed qualifying session, go out when you want. You're released in order of your practice results, but beyond that, the session's really up to you. And sometimes, again, it works out a little bit in your favor at a race like this. Be one of the first ones out on the circuit. And to do it in the second group, so you're still wanting to push for everything you got in happy hour. You're not trying to necessarily game it. I don't know if anyone really could. To be just below the split, to be the first one out in group number 1, nor would you want to. Travis Pettit, full track limit usage right there, up and over the inside curb. And we were checking as well to see if there was any enforcement on it. It's a tough thing to call here at Speedsportz. Caleb, you kind of talked about it. The number of various non-karting events here at the racetrack over the years try and save the surface and as well save the agriculture and grass on the inside and outside, has had them put a little bit of extra runoff curbing, or a little extra runoff past the curbing, but that's definitely changed the dynamic of the racing. You're not going to see that line, I don't think, by the time they have eaten the tires, but the back and forth and how you have to defend and how you're able to make passes. If you're able to go there, it's a different way to play the game than if you're not.
And I was going to say, I don't think in my years of driving here I've ever taken that line on when I was trying to set a normal fast lap. So for Travis Pettit to be trying something different, seeing if it's working out for him so far, I mean, he's 8th. Faster than everybody else in this group. We'll see if he does it again, and he does. So Travis Pettit just trying something different, I think, than anybody has tried out here before. And again, like you said, you're used to seeing that in racing action, but not really in qualifying. It's working out for him, though. We'll see what happens here this time around as he heads into the boot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll question him over you, Caleb. I mean, you have a decent resume, but this kid right here, he's got a couple more pieces of hardware.
Oh yeah, just a bit more.
Whatever he's doing, it's working. That was a good opening lap to start it. It wasn't fantastic, but it was still solid enough to set himself nicely for this next lap. I think this one's going to be a really good one as he closes up to the back, the 70-99. Mateo Calderon just in front of him along with Ashton Woon. Those two are split. Woon currently 9th right now. Calderon down in 16th. Travis Pettit's a little further back in 20th. Quickest driver of the pack is the one that just went overall quickest here, Nathan Golseth. The winner from yesterday when the dust had settled. We talked about him as he was the first one out in the first group of qualifying on the overall day. First of the slow group in K Junior. He set himself up decently there. He's buried in this pack, though. This will be tough to finish the session because he just made that move there on Nico Katowski. The next one up will be Marco Samet if he can get to him, and if he can get to him at a good point in the lap. I don't think he's going to be able to get a 5th lap in, so this will probably be it. You can see he's already up to the bumper, the 775. There's the checkers.
So I think Golseth got an extra lap, the same for Pettit. So this entire group.
No, they did. Yeah, you're right.
They all got an extra lap. I think outside of maybe Colton Schniegenberg in that pack that's further back. The Schniegenberg's not even on the first page. He is. Sorry, he's 14th right now. So this entire group got another lap for Lex and Nico Katowski, who's right behind Nathan Golseth. We'll see what he can do there for Golseth as well. That was just kind of repositioning himself to set in a good lap time. Pettit was one of the first ones to cross the line. We'll see what happens here for Pettit and Vega. They were just at the front of the pack. Vega's going to cross now. This time goes fastest, a 53.355. Here comes Pettit. It changes. Woon to 3rd. Nathan Golseth now. What can he do from 4th? Only 3rd for Golseth, and Pettit holds on for now.
Yeah, he had to make that pass. That hurt him. Last one across the line to get the 5th lap there was Parker Ives. He was only able to do 22nd best overall. Travis Pettit set himself up nice, takes advantage of it, and that will make yesterday a little easier to get over when you start from the front row. It's an all-RPG lockout. Talked about how good Royce Vega was yesterday. He's good again today. He'll join Travis on that front row. Here's the middle of the brunt. Grayson Walcott a little bit further back on the leaderboard than yesterday. Not terrible, though. Still in a pretty good spot there from the 6th row. Aston Wyatt, Colton Schniegenberg doesn't rebound, but continues a decent day. Great effort in K Junior Quali solid effort so far in X30 Junior there, top half of the field in 14th. These drivers further back, they've got a little more work ahead of them. Pro X30s next up, though. Here we go for the class yesterday that really had 3 major drivers of note. Blake Nash, fastest in qualifying, and it wasn't even close. And along with him, Oliver Hodgson and Gus Lawrence, who continued to bring the fight to Blake in the pre-final. Gus was quick and right on him, and then in the main event, it was all about Blake and Hodgson to the end. You heard from earlier today, he said, look, same mission today, whatever else, we're just going to go out and try and win it again, and I just need to maybe make a move a little sooner than when I was hoping to make mine at the end of the final. Ryan Norberg joined us in commentary for that main. He made a number of great points, and one of those being that you got to kind of throw the driver off his rhythm as someone as good, as experienced as Oliver Hodgson. Don't let him get that many laps to build his routine up as Blake did. And, well, it's easy to armchair quarterback it. Blake's got a game plan. I'm sure he's ready for action today. And as of note, his post-tech DQ did get overturned. He's actually reinstated, so he'll get that P2 back. That'll help him in the points to challenge our most recent winner, our first winner of 2026 in the headline categories. Oliver Hodgson is 1 for 1 in red and black, ready to go in the fast group for Pro X30 to back up that performance from yesterday. I mean, there's no better way to kick off a new venture like that in a new home. Again, it was kind of a slow transition at the end of last year, working in coordination under the KSG banner. It's not like it's a meeting everyone for the first time type of weekend or over the last month or so. Oliver, Justin Stefani as well, heading up the race department, now joining in. There you see Blake Wankowski right behind him. And the rest of the paddock already has seen the chemistry building between Oliver Hodgson, Billy Musgrave, Comp Kart, Factory Kart, the transition over to help pioneer the red and black brand now, which again, 2 different go-karts. This one, of course, made in the USA, over in Arizona, just a stone's throw down the road from where we'll be in 2 months with the newly announced opener for the Superkarts USA Pro Tour. The Skusa Winter Nationals is headed back to Tucson, Arizona, a venue that had last hosted the Pro Tour more than a decade ago. In a different era. Open tag classes. That was the name of the game that weekend, where you had the Leopards, the Rotax, IME Leopard, the predecessor to the X30. The Rotax Max package was a rocket ship there, a track similar to Speedsportz here with a lot of mid-range. It does have a high-speed main straightaway. It'll be fun to watch. There's a lot of improvements that have been done to that facility. We're excited to get back out there. We've only made it one time with the Rotax West Trophy Series in 2024. But in 2026, the All-Stars of North American Karting will be headed there at the end of March. And right now they're on circuit for the first group. Here's a look at them. Fionn Shee, James Overbeck. Fionn was very impressive yesterday. He amongst the 3 RPG drivers that he was around. Alexander Vanchev, hot off in an incredible junior season last year. Gus Lawrence, who was sensational in his own right, of course, throughout his limited schedule in 25, then to end off as the champ. And now Fionn, whoa, oh my goodness, Fionn Shee gets spun around in turns 4 and 5 in a very weird and awkward way there. It looked like he had a little help. It's not really a corner you get that far out of shape that easily.
I think help from you,
I guess.
Carson there, I guess.
I think I'm like 3 for 3 on Carson guys this weekend, so we'll stay off him. If anyone else has any more submissions in the paddock and wants me to talk about someone, I guess we'll put the cartoon anvil on them and drop it. James Overbeck through the buckle now leads this group over Sergei Karamseli. You want to talk about bad luck? I don't think it could have got any worse for Ibrahim Din. He had a DQ from qualifying yesterday, had to rebound from that and try to move his way up the leaderboard. Didn't really make too much headway. And, of course, that doesn't help when Dad goes out and puts it on the pole in KA Master qualifying. I know Junaid was hoping for more than what he ended up with in the main event. Of course, the crash in the pre-final, fighting for the win. KA Masters pre-final was action-packed, and the chaos finally imploded, and it took out the top qualifier. He had a valiant effort to get back up and into the top 5 when the checkered flew yesterday. So he still beat his son head-to-head on results. But no doubt Ibrahim's got a much taller task ahead of him, going in only I believe this would be his first Pro X30 national level start.
I think second, maybe
second
at the Super Nationals.
Correct. Yeah,
I believe
there you
did take part of the field. So Ibrahim Din, and I believe got himself into the main event off the dice roll. So, or actually, that was Jose Carlos Hernandez. I believe it was in KA Senior.
Now you're mixing up team drivers.
Yeah, there you go. So, no, nonetheless, for Ibrahim Din, good to see him out here racing in the pro category. But lap starting to come in. Lap number 3 going to be completed here shortly for the likes of James Overbeck, who's only 5th, and he even falls back a little bit down the order as well to 8th. Fianchi goes to the top, 53.539 after going around. Iturriaga to 2nd. Rosso Orcel to 3rd. Kermaselli to Ibrahim Din. Sanguera, Ramirez, Overbeck, Weiland, and Perrin, your top 10 in the 2nd group. So this is the fastest driver on the track, the 388 of Fianchi, which I think sadly for him, he's a little too close to the bumper of the MPG Motorsports machine of Max Weiland. This lap, I think, with a pass here, as expected in the buckle, isn't going to help him out all too much.
No, probably not. But they still have ample time to maybe get one more. We're watching the clock closely. We know the first few drivers are going to safely get to 5. And there it is. Oh, yeah, that'll do it for Fianchi. That pass on the lap, did he go any better on it? He did, 53.34. Wow. So he did still make up time. Did manage that one well. Weiland will end up down in 10th in this group. But we still have the first half that made it across the line before the checkers. Overbeck, Karamselli, Din, all are going to get another. Tiziano Rosso Orcel will get another lap as well. He's in the blue suit at the back of this group. They're going to get one more shot to improve a little bit here. So 5 of them at least made it across the timing loop before the timer hit 0. Can they go any faster than a 53.34? Ibrahim needs a full 2/10. Everybody else needs even more than that. But we've seen it happen already. Will the benefit of being just in the first couple karts on the racetrack help him? Levi Sanguera will jump into the top 5, and Karamselli will go to the top of the board. The 33.99 is Sergei Karamselli. 53.213. Overbeck to 2nd. Ibrahim Din to 3rd. And there's your time to beat for Oliver Hodgson and company in Pro X30. 53.213. The lap time from the first of 2 groups in Kart CRG USA's Pro X30 division. Ibrahim Din, Fianchi, then his time will hold to 4th in the group. 10th and a quarterback, Tiziano Rosso Orcel 5th, Sanguera, Iturriaga, Ramirez, Siemens, Max Weiland from the opening group. All close in the top 5, 10th and a quarter spread between them.
There you go. Oliver Hodgson going to lead them out to the racetrack with, looks like Gus Lawrence sliding in right behind him. To add a little bit more to this story here, the developing one that we have with Oliver Hodgson of his move with factory karts. Again, he was living out in North Carolina after spending a good number of years in Arizona. Moved out to North Carolina for a good number of months, I believe from April down to the latter half of the year, and then now finally moved back to Arizona with the operation. So it's been back and forth, and he's excited, right, to be back in Arizona. Says he's not excited about the summer. It's the only thing he won't be excited about, moving back to the desert. But again, new look, and keeping a guy that's 32 years old fresh is a good thing to see here.
Well, and he'll be a huge part of one of the new venues joining the national calendar as well, the Lorain, Ohio Kartplex. Oliver Hodgson will be the official driver coach for the academy up there. So he's a busy man off the racetrack. On the circuit here, he's going right to work, though. Full focus on trying to build himself a nice cushion over Gus Lawrence behind, and then Blake Nash. Nash is going to be in a great spot here if this gap kind of holds with how fast he was yesterday. Gus kind of caught up to Ollie a little bit too early in that final lap, and I think that kind of hurt them both. And Blake right now looks to be almost even still, trying to build himself a little more heat and surrender some time to Gus up the road. Comfortable that he's probably going to still find himself well above where that timer will hit 0. And then locking in right behind him, 2 drivers in particular that should have had a much higher result yesterday. Alexander Vanchev was spun backwards at the end of the second turn on the opening lap. Had an incredible drive up and back into the top 5, getting by Gus himself on the final lap to go from wrecked back to the front. Was nearly 2/10 faster per lap on the average than everybody else on circuit, including the eventual winner, Oliver Hodgson. it's hard to gauge sometimes how quickly a junior driver will adapt into senior because they're racing an age range of 1 to 2 years. So they might be the best of their generation, if you will, or best of their graduating class. But sometimes when they'll jump in, it may take a little bit to adapt, and other times they go right in as if they've been there for years. And Alexander Vanchev, he definitely was scrapping it out with them and probably learning some racecraft lessons, some things he might have wanted back or wanted a little bit differently in the pre-final. But without a doubt, the speed is there for him to be able to contend for race wins as soon as today. And if he can put a good qualifying effort in to go a little higher than the fourth row where he started from in yesterday's main, it could seriously be possible. He's got Aiden Ingrata behind him, and then as well, Paulie Massimino was the other driver that really got cleaned out in that turn 2 incident from yesterday's main. He was the fastest on track in the pre-final yesterday, Caleb. I think he could be a serious threat today if again, the Gremlins won't strike him. If you talk about bad luck on particularly main event starts, I'd put Paulie probably up there as the ratio of speed and probability to fight for a race win to getting wiped out in turn 1. Felt like it was about every fourth main event we'd watched last year.
Cincinnati.
The BJRLN kart would be off. Cincinnati went out. Had another one, I believe it was at the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Newcastle, wiped out turn 1. Also, down here at Speedsportz Racing Park, I can't remember which day it was, one of the two of them got cleaned out either in a heat or the main. And yesterday, no different. Drives his tail off to get up to fourth, ends up backwards in turn 2. There's the checkers. Only the last two in this group will end up going at 4 laps. And with 4 complete, Nash is the quickest, 52.760. But if we learned anything from yesterday and from this morning, this lap will be the one that counts and will be the difference maker. Blake Nash, 600ths to Aiden Ingrata, to Alexander Vanchev, to Gus Lawrence. Yesterday's winner, Oliver Hodgson's 5th. Massimino is 6th. Only 2 tenths separate the whole top 7. Jose Carlos Hernandez looks significantly better here on Sunday. This is it, the run to the line right here.
Into turn number 14 now. Here we go. First one across, Oliver Hodgson to the top of the timing charts. Lawrence goes better. Nash only 2nd. Alexander Vanchev to the top.
Vanchev by 1,000th of a second. The rookie will steal the pole away from his teammate. Gus Lawrence will have to take that one. That's a bitter pill to swallow. That the rookie sensation is going to lead the Pro X30 field to green today. Alexander Vanchev, a 1-2 punch for Rollison Performance Group. Blake Nash 3rd, Massimino 4th, Ingrata 5th, Bonilla 6th. And Oliver Hodgson on that last lap, I don't know if he felt like he left anything on the table, but that was nowhere near what he was probably aiming for. He ends at a 52.71. 3,000ths better could have put him ahead of Donovan Bonilla, but yesterday's winner will start from 7th. Jose Carlos Hernandez 8th. Diego Ramos 9th. Finnegan Bailiff 10th for the Biro Art crew. Buddy J, Jesus Vasquez Jr. 11th. Sergey Karamsili, solid from the first group. He'll end up 12th overall. Eric Doan 13th. James Overbeck 14th. And Ibrahim Dean will end up in the 15th spot with Pro X30 qualifying in the books now. K Masters, of course, getting ready to roll on deck. That means there's just 3 more classes for qualifying. 1 full group for the KA Masters, split group for Mini Swift, and then 1 full group for Pro Shifter. So in total, 4 qualifying groups. There you see Blake Nash getting the news. Close indeed there in qualifying for day number 2. He'll get the preferred lane, though, inside of row 2, right behind that young man. Alexander Vanchev rolls it across the scales, a 52.52, 1,000th of a second better than his teammate Gus Lawrence. Puts the kid on pole in only his 3rd ever Pro X30 start. How about that?
All right, Alexander Vanchev just getting the gas cap off. We're going to try to pull him away from that task. Well, he didn't quite accomplish it, but I'm sure sure his mechanic will be able to do it. That was a super, super close qualifying session there. But you've been fast all day. You were quick in warm-up, too. What's the difference today?
Yeah, no, yesterday after the final, I just knew I had rocket ship pace. You know, everyone at RPG has been working really hard. Since the beginning of the weekend, we were missing a little bit. And then I think we figured out everything by yesterday's final, and today we've just had really good pace.
So how do you translate that into race pace? That's going to be the big factor, as you know, challenging conditions as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, my preference is kind of the cold conditions. Yeah, I like to drive in the cold where there's limited grip, but in terms of racing, I just need to put my head down, try and put quali laps down, and just break away a 10th every lap until I'm free.
Go into that a little bit. Do you like sliding around? Do you like that lack of grip? What's the desire to race in the cold?
I think that I really like how the engines run in the cold. It's much better for the engines, and I think that I can put the grip together when I need to. So, of course, it's a bonus.
There you go. Alexander Vanchev going to be leading him down from the point when we start the pre-final later today.
And next up, the fight for pole in K Master, all together in one group, 19 of them. Brian Boley didn't have a really standout day until we got to the main. He said he was just chipping away at it, trying to get a little bit more each session, put it all together, and he did. He had
Riley,
to fight
what
to.
corner did you say would be copacetic to go out there and walk? Uh-oh.
One lap in the books here for K100 Master Qualifying, presented by AMA USA West. Trevor McAllister, Scott Cherry, Brent Harper, Carlos Calderon. That's a huge opening lap here for T-Mac and for Scott Cherry. We talked about his story. So cool to see him back behind the wheel. And yesterday, he wasn't necessarily one of the rainmakers when it came down to the battles at the front of the pack, but he was kind of on the outer rim looking towards it. Now this will be the first real lap at it. That was a quick out lap for him. He'll unfortunately have to wait until we get to see him pop back up. That first lap at speed for Scott, still waiting to have him cross. He's all the way at the tail. He'll cross 15. Shows you how much everybody else was really scrubbing in the tires and sacrificing the first lap around. Miguel Mir able to go up to fourth, and the 495 here as we key on in on another one of the SCR entries. That's Calderon himself, P4 now with yesterday's winner, Brian Boley. Holy cow, 5/10 clear of everyone at the first lap.
Yeah, it's a great opening lap there for Brian Boley, able to find some good speed. The only driver down on the 56s, really for the 425. We follow along with the rest of the group. Yesterday's pole sitter, Janae Din right there with teammate Scott Falcone. They're currently 9th and 12th. We'll see what he can do as Tom Gershner into the grass in the 407. He's able to rejoin, but here's the movement. Falcone a second, McAllister to Din to Boley, who now slots back to fourth. So McAllister finding good pace, the same for Din and the same for Falcone, who are right here on your screen. They enter the backstretch now. Miguel Mir, teammate, right ahead of them. But Mir only down in 16th here early on. Mario Barrios makes an impression. Brian Boley, even better, a 56.063 as the rest of the field looks to make moves. We keep an eye on McAllister, Barrios, Falcone, and Din start to challenge a little bit here. 4/10 back. Everybody within half a second inside of the top six.
Close in the top six, really close in the top three. Mario Barrios, the chain popping off midway through that main event. All of a sudden, took what could have been an opening return victory for the RPG Cosmic driver to heartbreak, and now he'll have to sacrifice that as a drop in the championship. He needs now 3 perfect rounds to be able to score the title over this K Masters field. It begins with this qualifying run to the line to try and best his teammate. He cannot. Boley to the line for his last lap. He'll go better and put the exclamation point on yesterday's win. It started to tighten up there as T-Mac got to within 100th and Barrios got to within a half-tenth, and then Boley found another full tenth and a half over his teammate, a full 10th over Trevor McAllister. There you go for Brian Boley and RPG, back off of the win yesterday, back off the the front row lockout in Pro X30, and now the pole and the inside first 3 rows with Jose Eduardo de la Garza Elizondo on the inside of row 3 alongside Scott Falcone. Calderon, Pergande, Mir, Harper, your top 10. And while Tom Gerstner did have the spin, at least he did get a couple laps in. He'll start from the tail end in 19th here for round number 2's action. Another quick break here, folks. We're almost through. Lining your grids up. Qualifying continues next with Mini Swift and Pro Shifter to follow.
Are you stuck with your kart racing? Not sure the ideal kart setup? Or going to a track for the first time? Well, Kart Class has the answers for you. Our online portal has a wealth of experience and knowledge to help your kart racing. From kart setup advice to track guides that are targeted specifically to your circuit, or the driver coaching aspect with mindset, racecraft and driving techniques. If you want to take your karting to the next level, visit us at kartclass.com.
Attention Superkarts USA drivers. Be sure to order your complete photo package from On Track Promotions. All drivers receive a minimum of 40 photos from throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with instant access from our automated delivery system. Visit otp.ca right now to get instant access to your photos.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
IAMI USA West is the official West Coast importer for IAMI engines and parts. Our dedicated and knowledgeable staff have a combined 50+ years experience in the sport and can help you with all of your needs. Call us today or visit our website to find your local dealer to shop.
Welcome back. 2 classes still need to set their grids here for the day. Mini Swift presented by Avinco Tires. First up and on to the racetrack now as we get them rolling. Samuel Chavarri leading the pack around as they roll towards the boot. Into the outlap coming to a close. Talked about how chaotic their race was yesterday. Well, Mason Brody probably experienced it most of all. It's qualifying on the front row, racing for the win. He ended up getting shuffled back at the end of that pre-final, and then first turn, first lap of the main event, spun backwards off the chaos that really began with the back of the field shoving the front of the field all the way down the entirety of this main straight, because the start zone of where you're supposed to accelerate, where the leader's allowed to accelerate, is between these two blue cones. The field knows that. However, further back, there's no way to enforce it just by staying outside of staying inside your tram lane. So when you've got a pack of 36 of them like we do this weekend, and the back of the field has to wait that whole straightaway, they get a little bit antsy. They were pushing and shoving to the front of the pack, and Dutch Westbrook got jacked up sideways and sent right into the other lane, and it was just a pile-up from there, Caleb. A heartbreaker for so many kids because, as we mentioned, there were so many that realistically could have won yesterday had the cards gone their way for, off the opening lap, and had they played the rest of their available hand to perfection, just like Jake Manolio did with that slick around the outside move in turn number 6.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, right, about 10 of 15 drivers realistically had the pace to be running up front, and the race went one way or another, and they didn't find themselves in that position. So, again, lessons learned for some of these young drivers that you take into the day, as well as lessons that you learned in qualifying. As we're working our way through here, Chavarri with Connor Lipka right behind him to Marcelo Flores, and then a Mason Brody as they continue to pass one driver with the meatball flag there. Further back as Flores dips the tire into the dirt. Might have had a little bit of help there. And the 139 not going to be able to close this session out, and looks like one of the Rawlison Performance Group drivers.
That's Samia Alterchat Sanchez getting the meatball flag for something.
It's like Altair there, the one. So this driver here.
Oh, the hair coming out of the suit. That's what it is for Samia. That's a standard rule, a heartbreaker for any driver with long hair. The last thing they want is getting caught in anything right behind the seat. So you have to tuck that into your headstock if you wear one. At minimum, tuck it into the suit. Once the officials do see that the hair's out, that's a safety issue, and they're going to quickly meatball that young driver. So Samia will get sent into the scale line, only going to get a couple of laps, basically scored only one lap in before that came untucked. I've seen even some of the best have that happen to them running up front in a main event. It's a heartbreaker to watch because, again, you sit down in the go-kart, you shift around, the wind's blowing, and maybe it just comes untucked just a little bit. Nothing the mechanic did wrong, nothing you did wrong as a driver. Out of your control, but it takes it away. It's part of life, though. Right now, fairness, far from the thing you're aiming for. You're aiming for the fastest lap you can get inside the rules and the confines that are given. And out of the final turn, you can see a pack of 3 and a pack of 4. So group qualifying here. Chavarri really trying to get behind the wheel and get out of the tow. He'll lead his pack to the top for only a second. And then Liam Astalis and Brody Brown will go faster. 59.19 here in this first group. Ty Morowek up to third. Mason Brody from yesterday punching super high out of group number 1. He'll get only 4th at the end of qualifying, and with a 4/10 delta to that 3-pack that was just behind him.
Yeah, good couple of laps there. So 3 Kart Republics inside of the top 3. Moraviec in third. Mason Brody to Lipka, your top 5. And Chavarri, the first one across, only 6th, and then 7th for Tyler Blackwood. Second group getting ready to hit the racetrack with Win Godshock and Mace Lasek leading them on to the racetrack. Salazar, one of the ones up front, as well as Kimo Ahmad, one of the drivers we touched on yesterday, and Brody Stoffel. A couple more. Again, drivers who were fast, just didn't capitalize when the main event checkered flag flew.
Quickly transitioning over, though, to the fast group. And Pro Shifter, our final qualifying session from opening weekend for the Skusa Winter Series, lines up the grid. For those of you watching along at home, of course, these will be the last 2 sessions we'll have for free to start for today up until Wednesday, when everything's available on replay, along with all the clips and graphics and updates on our social media outlets. But it'll be KC Premium members with the join button at the bottom to be able to watch all the heats and mains. Brody Stoffel's wild run up and down yesterday looked a little bit like that at the early part of his day to end up charging through the pack. 2 drivers there spinning. That'll lose touch with the rest of the field. And for Brody Stoffel, off of an impressive happy hour, you can see how much dust and debris there was on the exit of the buckle. Must have come at the very end of the slow group qualifying. Couple of drivers from Group 1 trying to push the limits and bringing some dirt on the tires. You can see how many Karts are going wide there in the boot on the first time through after all that gets caked onto the rubber. Then you got to clean it off for a couple of corners. But just as we saw in yesterday's pre-final for a good chunk, just as we saw in qualifying yesterday as well, Jake Manolio and Brody Stoffel, they've gotten a little bit of a gap out back. They can focus on working together. Let's see if they can put it all together and go towards the front once again in terms of the time charts.
Yeah, two Ryan Perry Motorsports Nitro cars worked their way into turn number 8 and 9 this time. And again, right behind one of the Orsilon machines of Salazar in the 107. So already putting in, it's a good gap for the two of them to just be able to be ahead, nobody to pass, nobody behind to be passed by. As here's Zev Gottschalk, one of the rookies moving up from the Micro Swift class, one of the younger ones as well. I believe 7 at the front half of the year, turning 8. Will turn 9 this year, but again, still very, very young for Zev Gottschalk. Racing with older brother Win Gottschalk. As they cross the line, Kimo Ahmad this time. Going to move up to 17th. Ramirez, Westbrook 19th. So the times and the temperatures just starting to heat up here. Manolio, fastest of the group. Lorenzo Lopez, that is, who's 15th. He's the fastest in the group, the 140 Kart CRG USA machine. Just buried in that pack. You see him there. Just right behind another one of the Nitro karts there on screen.
That was a tight one there for Win Gottschalk to try and make a move in turn number 8. Buried in traffic, running out of time. Here he goes to the inside. He'll bring with him
his brother Zev.
Yeah, the two brothers working together. Now they're going to set up pretty nice here if they were to get another lap. And they'll have, I think, just the one. I don't think anyone in Mini Swift's going to be able to go fast enough to get 5 laps in, 4 laps at speed. You can see the marshals already starting to queue up the checkers. There goes the group across. So this is it. Probably final lap around Speedsportz Racing Park in timed qualifying for the Perezzino Chassis Jake Mini Swift class. Down the backstretch, Jake Manolio and Brody Stoffel. Together, they've only been able really to just start now on that last lap to even try to make a dent. That was a huge lap by Liam Astalis and Brody Brown out of the first group. They're still 4/10 above them. This middle pack here, as close as they all are, they're going to struggle probably to be able to do any better than what Manolio and Brody can do. So for those two to only be 7th and 9th overall, the first group might be sitting pretty. Ty Morwick as well. But we'll find out in a matter of moments to the final turn. Checkers out. Here comes Stoffel and Manolio. Can they go all the way to the top? No. 3rd and 5th for the 2 RPM Nitro karts. A couple of big laps further back and a huge one for Lorenzo Lopez. CRG to the top at a 58.98. A heater at the very end. The only one in that huge pack to really get a good lap there to finish the session off. Win Gottschalk was able to pop himself into the top 5. But for Jonathan Kotick and the Kid X Development USA group, that's a very respectable performance out of the slow group to have their 2 drivers, Liam Astalis and Brody Brown, go to 2nd and 3rd.
And that's a massive swing from yesterday. Again, Brody Brown, rookie in the Mini Swift field as well, Liam Astalis. And again, a 2nd and a 3rd. That's a great way to start off their Sundays. What a drive. Mason Brody down in 12th. Liam Francisco 11th. Dutch Westbrook only managed 14th. And again, he's going to be buried in the field once again. A lot like where he was yesterday. Just couldn't get himself out of it. That's it for one of our youngest divisions. Time to go with the pros. The pro shifters getting ready to hit the racetrack. With Billy Musgrave looking for a little bit more on Sunday after a mechanical put him out of contention in the main event. The number 1 looking to get himself to the top spot here today. And again, fighting against some familiar faces of you. Jay Irwin and Gavin Bailiff were challenging Billy Musgrave yesterday. Justin White as well. Competitive, and again, you talk about the winter series, you talk about Justin White.
He qualified on the pole, right? But being on the inside of the racetrack, it doesn't get nearly the number of karts driving over that line down the backstretch as the outside lane did. Jay Irwin took full advantage, had a huge advantage on him in the jump off the start to get the whole shot and get fully clear by turn number 1 on the start, turn number 6 overall. And from there, it was lights out for the Kiwi. Justin White said he was going to go back after we talked with him and look at making some more changes, continue to try to throw some more options at him, see if he can find a little bit of speed. Gavin Bailiff, on the other hand, with how much speed he had at the end of the day yesterday, probably felt like he didn't need a whole lot more for today, and you touched on it quite a bit throughout round number 1, the limited sessions that he had throughout Friday due to a couple of engine failures, so limited seat time made up for that with round 1. He'll take that potentially as a drop. Still ended on the box, but with a limited grid, a second and a third won't necessarily seal a championship. Again, like Billy Musgrave was able to with the Pro Tour. Didn't get a main event win. Didn't even have a session win on the year. And yet, able to get the points title in the number 1 plate for 2026 with a group of only 15. And based on what we saw on round 1, realistically 4 drivers with a serious shot to challenge for race wins. You've got to be perfect. And that's what this young man was at round 1.
Here the engines fire off, and Jay Irwin, nobody faster than him. Gavin Bailiff looked like he could match the speed. But again, the main event didn't go his way. Jay Irwin gets ready to lead this field out alongside John Paul Melcory, who was fastest. And the second year for that driver in the Pro Shifter division. A lot of learning, huge learning curve for him after starting on row number 2, slotted back at the pre-final. We'll see what the 60 can do here today.
Yeah, there was no better display of how difficult it is to race these beasts than what it was like probably from the onboard camera for John Melcory. Didn't get an ideal start in the pre-final after qualifying as good as he did, and he was able to make up some spots throughout the rest of that session and the main event, but it's a totally different animal when it comes to putting back-to-back laps together. For one, Eric Doan put it pretty well when you spoke to him earlier today about the Pro X30 class, that it's minimizing mistakes. These guys that you're racing against, you might be able to put one lap together to be better than them, but it's really hard to be able to put an entire session of not missing a single corner, a single brake zone, and making passes as well in this category more than most because they've got extra braking power and 6 gears at their disposal. Saw how long it took Justin White just to be able to find a way past Billy Musgrave. The same for Gavin Bailiff. And Gavin, a race winner, proven race winner, multi-time podium finisher at the Winter Series as well. Struggled to the point that he ended up just putting himself in a compromising spot when they bottlenecked in front of him between Justin having to jam on the brakes behind Musgrave, who, as mentioned, had the kingpin starting to back out and then fully went out. And at that point really was just driving a wounded kart around to log laps on the factory kart number 1, but he was ahead of Justin, and Gavin didn't anticipate it perfectly to put himself in a spot where he wouldn't be affected, and he nearly spun the kart out in turn number 8. So even the vets are constantly showing how tough it is to get around. And there it is, Melcory. Oh no, a spin in the buckle for the number 60. Saw that top of the screen. He was trying to find his way probably for a better bit of track position. They were all kind of bottled up there, and the CRG driver, the sophomore, he's going to quickly try to get refired before the rest of the field comes back around.
Yeah, and again, unfortunate there. A driver with pace yesterday, but definitely not where he'd want to be. He hasn't crossed the line yet. Bailiff is also one of the ones further back. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he got hit pretty good there. That rear bumper right up and tucked behind the rear wheel and probably caked up against the radiator mount. So John Paul Melcory, sensational qualifying effort for round 1. He will not be able to back that up. He'll have to really put the passing skills that he tried to learn and work on yesterday to the test. That's what this driver did. Cooper Becklin had to start tail end of the field in the pre-final. Charged up the board. Did the same in the main to get as good as he could. Now he's kind of holding even right now with Billy Musgrave. He's not far off. Went a little faster than everyone on the first lap at speed, but here's Jay Irwin taking 2 laps to bring the tires up to 10. Now starts to throw down some heaters. 50.83 to set the initial time. White second, Bailiff third, Ashton Hankel fourth, and Musgrave fifth. And Musgrave looked way out of shape there, and indeed he was. Fully locked the rears up, had to get off of it, and then It just threw him completely out of whack there for turn 6. He's trying to hold station in his position, but now he's got Becklin and Justin White all over him. And once you bring the tires up, you kind of don't want to sacrifice and reset your gaps to go back down. You look behind if you're Becklin or Justin White, and there's so much traffic there, you'd have to slow down for quite a while. But they're all trapped behind Billy, who's going to reset himself and really put all the pressure on the final lap. This will probably be a banker for him.
Couple of movers there. Ardiles to second, Henkel to DeLongchamp, and Bailiff down in 10th right now. So everybody improving.
Well,
there
he went
goes.
out last. You got to give him a minute.
There he goes, yeah. But up to third, but Ardiles, that's a great lap for him.
Yeah, huge. The checker's out now. You can see there that was the 21 of Gautier, 21 of DeLongchamp's up to
Noah's
5th,
Arsk.
trying to make a pass on Noah's Arsk. Ardiles right now with Ashton Henkel. They've had to get by Cooper Becklin, who backed off, but I don't know if Becklin realized that he was going to have no more time. This is it. This is the final lap they'll get. Checkers out. Irwin will be the first to the line. How much better can he go at the stripe? 49.83. So they're all going to need 2/10 or more. Musgrave will go to third, and Ardiles won't be able to go any better. No one really improves much. Bailiff, one of the last to cross. So the number 7 will be all that's left.
Did he get an extra lap, though?
Oh, he didn't even get that. Yeah, he didn't make it in time. Gavin Bailiff only with 3 laps at speed, 4 laps on the board. So Bailiff 1 lap shy. And it'll still put him on the outside of row 2. Musgrave on the inside. Diego Ardiles representing Costa Rica. Nice here. Danny Formal's got to be cheering along back home as he begins his prep for the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. I know Danny would love to be here, and he's been a huge, huge help to Diego Ardiles' progression in a short amount of time since working together and rooting on that young man. But now, qualifying complete, pro shifter set. Jay Irwin, clean sweep of your sessions from the pre-final yesterday onward. He'll make up for just barely missing out on the pole for round 1 by getting the pole here in round 2. Collects the 10 bonus points and rolls right off the scales. Billy Musgrave, that last lap, he was finally able to get something down. It was looking really bad for him early in that session, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely wasn't looking all too good after locking up in turn 6. So good for him to salvage an inside starting spot on run number 3. And we'll see how that goes for Billy there as well. As we mentioned yesterday, that is the dirty side of the racetrack, if you will. See what he can do. Justin White, Will Crossan, and Cooper Becklin looks to have a much easier day today. But nonetheless, that's it. That's it for our qualifying sessions. We get ready to go racing here, Xander.
Yep, that's it. Qualifying in the books for opening weekend of the Skusa Winter Series. Round 2 pre-finals up next.
This broadcast is the sole property of Kart Chaser Group, LLC. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of the images, audio, or accounts of this event, in whole or in part, without the expressed written consent of Kart Chaser Group, LLC is strictly prohibited. Thanks for watching.